I guess it's already settled then. I guess we don't even need to play this Saturday because there's no way Nebraska could beat Colorado, right? That's all I've been hearing all week. Well, there's no way they're going to beat Colorado. I guess after that first weekend and what they saw with Nebraska and what they saw against Colorado, they just kind of blocked it, wrote it in as a loss. So is that really the case? I mean, was Colorado that good, Nebraska that bad? I don't know. So we're going to have to get into that. So hello, everyone. This is the Big Red Country with Jeff. If you are a Nebraska Cornhusker fan or a college football fan, give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel as it really helps us out. I know I'd really appreciate it. So let's get into this and see, can Nebraska beat Colorado? Is it already over before it even starts? Or is there more to it than we think? I think there is. So let's get into this.
Thompson giving ground. Here comes the pressure. He gets away from Holmes. Finds his way to the outside. McLaughlin turns him around. He sets and throws, and this ball is caught.
You know, I've been hearing, watching these shows, I've been hearing there's just no way. I'm getting responses on my videos on just how there's no way Nebraska can beat Colorado. They probably won't win 4 games. And I will admit there is some things that need to be cleaned up. There's quite a few things that need to be cleaned up, but Nebraska is not the only one. If you didn't watch the game with Colorado and TCU, there's some things there that needs to be cleaned up on both sides of the ball. You just can't look at the score and then say, oh, that they were 20-point underdogs and Colorado beat a top 20 team. Was TCU a top 20 team? Did they just give them that ranking because of last year? And honestly, my opinion, there's no way. They did not deserve to be in that national championship game. There's no way they should have been in that national championship game. And honestly, I don't even know if they should have even been in the playoffs. Michigan probably played their worst game in that playoff game against TCU. And I guarantee you, if Michigan would have pulled that out and went and played Georgia, I still think Georgia probably would have won that game, but it would have definitely been a lot closer than what we saw with TCU. So the question is, and TCU lost quite a bit of players in the draft and in the offseason. So the question is, how good really is TCU? And on top of that, TCU had no book, nothing whatsoever to prepare for Deion Sanders, and probably had less to look at Colorado and Deion Sanders than PJ Fleck had looking at Nebraska. And even though Nebraska had no tape, PJ could at least see the players. Most of the players that played and all that were here last year. Yes, there was some that came in, but there was a lot of veteran players that were on Nebraska's team. So he at least had that aspect where Colorado, almost everybody's brand new. They're scattered around, played different colleges, and I just don't think, and honestly, I don't think they were ready. I mean, honestly, if Nebraska would have played Colorado, even if it was in Lincoln, as bad as the mistakes I saw from Nebraska, and I got to admit, Colorado has some talent. They probably would have lost to Colorado too. I kind of saw the same thing watching Colorado. They backed up in that zone, and the TCU quarterback eyeball his receiver to try to throw it in the end zone. The defender jumped the route and picked it off. And all I kept thinking of, yep, that would have been Sims. So the question is, can Nebraska clean up these mistakes? And the biggest one is the turnovers. That's something that has to go away. You're not going to beat anyone if you turn the ball over 4 times. So that's the question we need to ask. And I'm telling you right now, Colorado has NFL caliber players at the skilled positions. Sanders at quarterback, Deion's son. Trust me, right now, he will be drafted in the top 5. He'll be a top 5 pick when he comes out. You're hearing that from me. I guarantee you he's going to be a top 5 pick. There's nothing better than having a talented quarterback that can throw like that also can run, and you always want to grab them if their dad played in the NFL. Just like I really believe Dylan Raiola is going to be a top draft pick or an NFL player. Where he goes at, that's still question. I ain't saying Dylan's going first round, but he might. It's still too early for that. But you could almost write it down when you have a NFL player's son that comes up and learns the game. It's a little different than anyone else that comes in and learns the game. So, and trust me, they got some skilled players there at the wide receiver, some NFL caliber receivers. So Colorado's got a lot of talent, and this team's going to end up being good. So they got a tough one this year with the schedule, but we're also going to get into it and answer Adam Carricker. If y'all watch Carricker Chronicle, he asked 3 questions, and we're going to get into them 3 questions and see if we can give him an answer on what he asked. And also, if you get a chance, watch his new show, the Big Ten show with him and Jeff. It's a pretty good show. Y'all need to get into that if you haven't already. And like always, Adam's pretty entertaining to me, and that kind of puts a little twist into it when you go watch something and kind of be entertaining as well. So to get back in this, I don't think it's as clear cut as that everybody's making it look. I think this game's going to be close. Obviously, Colorado and Nebraska is a rivalry. I don't know how much that's going to mean to these players, especially Colorado with all the transfers coming in. Nebraska might have a few players on there. They do have a lot of players from Nebraska that knows this rivalry, but most of them were real little when this rivalry was really going. I think where you're going to see maybe a little more into the, I wouldn't say rivalry, but caring is probably towards Nebraska towards Colorado, just because the last couple games they went up to Boulder and played and actually had a lead in both them games, and then would end up blowing it and losing them games. So there might be a little more chip on the Cornhuskers' shoulder to wanting this game, and plus after losing the way they lost last week, the question is, do they have that hunger? One thing you saw, especially back when Tom Osborne coached, one thing you saw was when they did have that close loss like that, how they wanted to come back the next week, and you usually didn't. You saw that stuff cleaned up because they didn't like that feeling. It ate at them how they lost the game. So the question is, does Rule have that? Because I went over this game. You get a chance, watch my last video where I give my breakdown and my remarks on the Minnesota game, where I went through that game again, play by play, and it wasn't as bad as everyone thought, or it looked at the time, and obviously it wasn't as good either. But there was a lot of things to clean up. Obviously the turnovers, you see the turnovers, not 1 turnover, then 2 turnovers, not even 3 turnovers. You turn the ball over 4 times, with a couple of them down there in the goal line, in the end zone, in the red zone. And then you throw in the 7 penalties, with 2 of them coming inside the 5-yard line. Them are killers. Nothing more will kill momentum, a drive, everything in any sport, let alone football, than turnovers or that penalty. How many times you've seen it where teams rolling, got things going, get down the goal line, and boom, there comes this stupid penalty or a penalty here, and then next thing you know, they just go cold. Things like that you never know what's inside this game that brings your momentum. You got 4 turnovers. There's at least 4 right there that gives Minnesota that momentum. Especially look how well Nebraska was doing. They're running the ball. They were pounding it. It looked like Nebraska was going to pound this ball to the end, just like we thought they would, with about that 4-minute mark, and drive down there, kick a field goal, and probably win that game. And then next thing you know, give the Minnesota defender credit. He punches the ball from Grant. They fumble the ball, they get on, and now all of a sudden it's a different game. And you see it all the time. So that's the question. If you could kind of eliminate them turnovers and maybe get some turnovers yourself. So I think we need to sit back and try to play Nebraska style football, and hopefully Nebraska style football isn't turnovers and penalties. And we need to make it a physical game. If you see that, Colorado wants that fast-paced finesse game. Nebraska wants that physical game. I think Nebraska needs to smash them in the mouth, and with our defense, we could do this. And we could hold them defensively and keep Nebraska in the game. I think by the fourth quarter, if you just keep hitting them and hitting them and hitting them, kind of like the old style Nebraska game, by the end of the game, by the third or the fourth quarter, it's going to wear on Colorado. And if Nebraska's within reach at that time, if they've held them in check, I could see Nebraska pull this out. But don't get me wrong, Colorado's a lot better than people think. Deion's got them going. I'm telling you right now, people underestimated Deion Sanders. They see that flashy player he used to be, but the guy's smart. He's definitely football smart. You don't do as well as he did in multiple sports. Yes, you need to be athletic, but you got to know what you're doing too. And I think by now he's proven he knows what he's doing. He's done it at Jackson State. You see him doing it here. But it's going to be a long season for Deion Sanders. So, and it's going to be a long season for Nebraska as well. So how's this game going to turn out? How's this game going to be? I expect Colorado to come out and try to do what they're doing. I'm hoping Nebraska sees what they did, Colorado did, because Minnesota kind of did it to Nebraska. If you watch, TCU liked that little dink and dunk, them little 5 yards out and all that. The pass to the back out of the backfield. They had one on there for a touchdown where the back came out of the backfield and nobody was around them. I think the stands, the people in the stands were closer to them than one of the defenders. Nebraska has to have somebody on that. You cannot let that back. That's how they are. They're wanting to look downfield. They got that kid Hunter. They got Jackson. They got a few of them that, trust me, could stretch the field. But what they're wanting to do, they're wanting to dink and dunk you and then open up that downfield. So the secondary is going to have to play well, but so is the linebackers. And that's kind of where you worry about, is can the linebackers do it? But I worry about the secondary as well. I saw them playing off a little too much, and then I saw Minnesota dinking and dunking against Nebraska, and I kept saying, the TV, I kept telling them, come on up, play, it's almost like they were scared to let them get behind you. You can't play scared. You got to play defense, and if they get behind you, hopefully that don't happen. Hopefully the safety back there is helping, but I don't see them trying to pound it to you. Yes, they're going to try to establish the run because how their offense works, they want to get that running game going to the point where you got to think about that running game and then open it up with the pass. But they're definitely one of those that want to throw it, and they're going to try to them the little out for 5 yards or 4 yards or whatever to the back. That's no different than a 4 or 5 yard run, and that's what they're trying to open up. And then next thing you know, they're opening up downfield because they're coming in. So the defense is going to have to play well, but I think the pass rush is important too. I really, and obviously it was the first game, so it's hard to tell. And I'm not saying Nebraska's offensive line's great, but I think Colorado's offensive line, if you got a question mark there, think they're still trying to get swing at things and all that. So I think our pass rush could get in there. I think you need to come after Sanders. You need to make him make a decision quickly. Don't give him time to throw the ball. I saw that even in Minnesota when they came after him. They did well. When they backed up and gave him all day to throw the ball, the secondary can only cover him so often. And when he could look downfield and finally find that open receiver. So I think they need to keep Sanders flustered and come after him, make him make the decision. He's still young. He could still make some bad decisions. Yes, it could come back and backfire. You could have a big play, and you might end up having a big play. But overall, you're hoping you don't. We got to get the running game going, and I think they need to give Sims some of these smaller passes, these kind of dink and dunks you've seen Minnesota and Colorado did against TCU. Get some of them open. I don't see Sims that down the field passer, because if I have a concern, I said that in my last video, if I have a concern, it's with Sims, because if you remember right, everybody says Sims is the leading, turned the ball over more than anybody in the Power 5, a quarterback as a Power 5 in his career. And he's a junior. And after watching that game against Minnesota, I just come to the conclusion he's a great athlete, can run well, but he doesn't have the reads down yet. He doesn't seem to want to read the defense. Too many times that you see him eyeballing his receiver. Minnesota went into that zone, and then you see the safety watching his eyeballs, and he'd be already breaking to the ball before Sims started throwing it, and next thing you know, it was picked. So I think he's got to get into that. Look off. Look at the defense. You know where your receiver's going to be. Watch the defenders. Look over to the right. If you're going left, at least quickly, you're going to at least make it start going over there. Juke that way and come back this way. There's a lot of things he could do. Not saying I'm an expert at it, but just eyeballing your receiver the whole time and do that through the whole game. It didn't take Minnesota long, and they figured out what he was doing. I don't know if it was them or more of the coaches. And next thing you know, boom, they started jumping that route to the point of 4 interceptions. And you got to look underneath. He had Borkershire wide open in the end zone on that interception right before half in the end zone. That little curl right that Jason Witten made famous with the Cowboys. You needed to look at that because that's open a lot of times, mainly when they're in that zone. So you're not going to lead them to the back of the end zone when you got defenders all over the place, and then obviously you got the back of the end zone, which is kind of like a defender because you can't go beyond that. So a lot of it has to do with Sims here. Can we get this running game going to the point we maybe don't need to throw the ball that much? I didn't mind the deep pass every now and then, that play action deep pass. I think that was a good thing. We just kind of missed them, and again, you saw it again. Sims couldn't hit him. Sims' strength is not the pass downfield. To me, that's where Casey Thompson came in, and that's why I always thought Casey Thompson would win that battle if they went to it, but obviously we didn't get that chance. So we need to get this running game going, but at the end of all this, I just got a feeling Colorado's probably going to pull this game out. I think it's going to be close, probably by 3 or 4 points. I think right now they have Colorado favored by 2.5, but if I was a betting man on this one right here, I would avoid this game and not take either one. It's too close to call. I could see Nebraska winning this game, and if they play it right, I just got a feeling that I don't think you're going to see the end of the turnovers. Might not have 4, but I got a feeling Sims is going to end up throwing 1 or 2 interceptions. I think in the long run, with their offense and their skill players, I just see Colorado pulling this one out between 3 and 7 points, either by a field goal or by a touchdown. But I think it's going to be a close game throughout. I think our defense is going to keep us in it. I think Colorado, when they get out there, they're feeling high. They're great what they did last week, but I think they're going to realize that the defense they're going to see this weekend is not the same defense they saw last weekend. I think this fits right into the defense with Nebraska. We get that pass rush going with our secondary. We might even have a few picks. And if that's the case, we could win the turnover battle and get them to turn the ball over more than us. I could see Nebraska pulling this one out. But right now, I'm going to give Nebraska or Colorado the edge, and I'm going to go out and say probably 24-21, somewhere around there, maybe 23-20. But right now I'm going to say Colorado by 3. So what do you think? Do you think this is where it's going to be? Do you even give Nebraska a chance? So if you get a chance, put that in the comments. So another thing I wanted to do here is I wanted to answer Adam Carricker's questions in Carricker Chronicle. He came back and asked 3 questions. He said, 1, just what I just asked you, who wins Saturday, Colorado or Nebraska? So you down below, tell me who you think is going to win this game. And I just told Adam just what I just told you. I think Colorado's probably going to pull this one out. It wouldn't surprise me if Nebraska won it, but I think it's going to be a tight game. And if Nebraska could force a few more turnovers than Colorado, then I can see Nebraska pulling out. But right now, I just don't have that faith in Sims right now to just have it cleaned up totally by this weekend. So I'm going to give the edge to Colorado. Now, he also asked, who has a better record at the end of this season, Colorado or Nebraska. And he did say, remember, Colorado has the second toughest schedule in the nation, right behind Purdue, where Nebraska has one of the easier schedules, the easiest schedule they have had in 3 or 4 years. But I wouldn't classify it as easy. I got a feeling if Nebraska could clean up the mess as they are, I still think Nebraska is going to have a better record. I still see them going about 7-5, definitely 6-6, but I'm going to say 7-5. At first, I was going 8-4, but I got a feeling if I'm picking Colorado, which was a game in my season prediction, I predicted Nebraska to win because I took Matt Rule's word that Sims had the turnovers cleaned up. But after seeing what I seen and witnessing it to my own eyes and seeing what he does and did to turn the ball over, I knew that's just his demeanor. That's what he does. He's in his 3rd year. If he hasn't cleaned it up by now, I don't know if he ever will. That's just what he does. He gets tunnel vision and looks right at what he's doing. He don't see what's around him. If you go back and look at that film, and I'm sure he has, he's going to see them defenders right there, and he's probably going to question both them interceptions that the safety came over and picked off. He's probably going to be thinking, man, why did I throw that? He's right there. And that's only because he had tunnel vision looking. All he could see was his receiver. And, of course, all they saw was him looking at his receiver. That's something you got to know, you got to be thinking about. And with everything else going on in the game and a fast game, you got to have that down already. You're not going to learn that in a week. So because of that, I'm picking Colorado. But I still think Nebraska is probably going to end up with more wins than Colorado just because of Colorado's schedule. I do think Deion and Colorado could win 5 or 6 games this year and make a bowl game. I really do. Right now I'm going to say 5, but I could see them making 6. I just think they're going to do better than what most people think. The last question Adam asked, and he said, in 4 or 5 years from now, who will we look back on as the better coach for their respective football programs? My answer is both. I think Deion's going to do great. I think he's going to get Colorado up there, mainly when they're moving to the Big 12. And I actually think in 4 or 5 years, you're going to see Colorado at the top of the Big 12 and probably playing for the Big 12 championship. I'm telling you that right now. I believe that. Deion's going to have this program turned around. But also I think Matt Rule is too. I think Deion's probably going to have his a little better than Matt, just because I don't see the Big 12 as strong as the Big 10. So because Colorado plays in the Big 12, it's going to look like Colorado has it down better and he's better off and winning more. But that's only because the Big 10, manning with Oregon and Washington and UCLA and USC coming in as well, to me is going to be the toughest conference in all of college football. But I do think Matt Rule's going to have them up there. They're going to be one in the top sector. And they're going to be a team that no one's going to want to play because they're going to be the team that can knock a Michigan or Ohio State or a Penn State out of there. So them are the 3 questions he's had. What do you guys think? Leave down in the comments below, who you think is going to have a better record at the end of the season. Put them in the comments below. We'll give Adam some answers here. I want to thank everybody for everything they've done and for all their support. Keep in mind, the first game of the season, the home game is coming up. That's Mr. Moneymaker, Mr. Make Money, I believe it is, that won them tickets for the first game against Northern Illinois. And then Husker Power won it for the second game in Louisiana Tech. So if you guys want to win home game tickets, coming up on September 17th, I will be drawing for the October games. Get a winner for the October games. That gives me time to get them to you, and you can make plans to go to the game. But I'm going to be giving away the October games September 17th. So to be eligible for that, you need to join the Big Red Country Club. Just hit the join button that you see right below the video next to the channel name, and then you got to sign up for the Throw the Bones membership. That's the one that gets the home game tickets. The other one is just to help support the channel. And to all of you that help support the channel, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It really means a lot to me. So let's hope this weekend's going to be better than last weekend. Let's hope I'm wrong on my prediction, and I think Nebraska is going to pull this game out. Hopefully Nebraska will pull this game out. Let's hope I'm wrong that Colorado's going to do this. Maybe I'm wrong about Sims. I want to be wrong about Sims for this weekend. It's not that I don't think he can get it cleaned up, not cleaned up at all. I just think to get all that in 1 week, I just don't see it happening. So what do you guys think? But again, thank you all for joining me. And after the game, I'm going to go over the game again, go through play by play, see what we did right, see what we did wrong. And hopefully we're talking about a win, but then give you my analysis on how they did, what improvements we still need to work on, and going into the next week after that. So again, thank you everybody, and I'll see you in the next video. Go Big Red.